Hey, hello, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about TV we watch. This is episode 32. I am Daniel, she is Hope, and did you notice how I almost forgot the name of our podcast there at the beginning?
I didn't. Too distracted by my Spotify telling me that Ariana Grande is giving me a special offer to buy a sweatshirt before other fans.
Oh, how unfortunate of you. Yeah, I had like a millisecond break of like just, wait, what am I doing? Where am I? What am I attempting to accomplish here?
Tired.
I mean...
Well, once again, we are tired. That's what the podcast should be called. The We Are Tired podcast.
That would be the unrated version that we do.
Like the after show.
The after show. Where
like how they had like the Talking Dead after the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Should we do an after show just totally unfiltered?
I don't know if they want that or not. Or maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't think the world's ready. But we should be tired because we're older.
It's not like we're senior citizens or anything over here.
But we did just celebrate our 16th wedding anniversary. The anniversary of the day we said I do. We took a whirlwind trip last weekend to Walt Disney World. That is where we spent our
Big shocker.
honeymoon. I know, big shocker. It's our favorite place. Everybody has what they like and what they don't like, and people should, live life, take the trip, do what you want to do. Don't worry about what other people think. So we had a very early flights. We arrived. We were able to basically, if you guys, any of the Disney World people out there know, they have early entry, which is if you stay at a Disney resort, you get in 30 minutes early. We actually made early entry. We're able to get Starbucks, mill around, take some pictures, and we were still like in the line to ride like the first, we did Peter Pan, right?
Yeah. I can say this
with
now.
the time to spare.
I can say this now because it's all in the past, therefore it cannot jinx anything. We hit every single travel point perfectly.
Perfectly.
The drive
so
to the
rare for us.
The drive to the airport was perfect. The plane wasn't late. Everything went fine.
There were 90 open seats on our flight down.
We traveled light. Yeah, it was not a full plane. We traveled light, so we didn't have a bag.
That's hard for me to travel light.
We got an Uber right away who got us there without getting lost or into traffic or anything like that. We got right. The only hiccup was I was accosted by...
You did have a little bit of hiccup while I was using the bathroom.
You were using the bathroom, and I was trying to find bell services to stow our bags because our room wasn't ready. And some very eager cast members cornered me and were like, I was like, I just want to put my bags up. They're like, well, we'll get you checked into a room early. We should be able to have a room for you. I was like, I just really want to, and they just overwhelmed me.
Which is fine for a longer trip, and I think because most of the time your room's not ready till after 3, but I think because we stayed at Coronado Springs Resort, which is one of the moderate resorts, and it is absolutely huge. Like, it's humongous. So I think when you stay at a bigger resort, you're more likely to get your room ready quicker. But like our whole thing was, since it was such a short trip, because we flew out Sunday evening, so we were really there like basically 2 days, 1 night, was we wanted to stow our bags, just get on the bus and go.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when I use the bathroom and I leave you alone.
Yeah, don't leave me alone. They
You leave your very
well,
introverted
the first one came
alone.
up and I was kind of talking to her
without the caffeine yet.
I didn't have any caffeine in me. The second one came over and started talking. Then when they started talking at each other, it's just like I couldn't keep up with the conversation. And
I think somehow we
it all
ended
worked
up
out
with
fine.
2 rooms, right, though?
For a little bit of time, yes.
But then we had to get that fixed. But we actually got upgraded to a preferred room, so that was nice.
Yeah, we didn't have to walk as far.
Yeah, we were very close to like the main tower, so we had that like the bus. I mean, there's bus areas all over the resort, but that was like kind of like the main bus stop, right?
Yes.
So it was a very fun trip. One thing that we discovered once again, if you guys are familiar with this podcast, is Daniel has some issues with labels. And here we go. So let's get into it. Now, part of this, sometimes I really try my hardest not to be a control freak. And then I'm always given reasons why. Hope, it's your destiny to be a control freak. It's your destiny to pay attention to every single detail. Because if you don't, these things happen. So I had given him a little list of just some extra travel stuff I needed. Because we did not check a bag, I had to get like the travel size of the aerosol hairspray. So I had like all my travel things. I was like, hey, can you grab me some travel size aerosol hairspray? You bought it. I myself, in his defense, the labels do look the same. I just stuck that
Thank
baby
you.
in there, and we had our great day, a great morning at Magic Kingdom. We came back because obviously our room was ready to kind of chill out before we did Epcot. So we did a lot of rides at Magic Kingdom. We had our usual snacks, saw our favorite country bears. Life was vibing. We went back to get a rest, and then we started getting ready to go to Epcot. So I pull out the alleged hairspray, and I pull the top, and I see the top of it. I'm like, that's a weird spray nozzle. And then I realized that Daniel's gotten me mousse. Who is still wearing mousse in your hair in the year 2023? It's like, I know like Jessica Sopoulos, a fictional character in the Full House universe, was all about mousse. But does anybody still wear mousse? I mean, I have very thick, like Topanga Lawrence, Boy Meets World style hair. I just have a lot of hair, so I don't need the volume.
I went
Are
back
people
to the
still
store.
wearing mousse?
I went back to the store where I grabbed the wrong thing after our trip, and
Oh, really?
happened to be over there. So I went by to check it out. They don't have travel size hairsprays. Only mousse.
Only mousse.
Only mousse.
At Walmart.
Still
at
on
our
me.
Walmart.
Yeah, still on me for not reading the label. Although I will note that if they make it a different color, I know immediately that it's something different. But I can't see the
This
words.
is a black can with a gold.
Yeah, they all are.
And then we discovered, what else did we discover? So we're like, okay, we're not going to let it ruin everything. And you could be like, oh, Hope, why don't you wear your hair in a ponytail the next day? That's a whole thing, guys. I get migraines. Ponytails trigger that. I have to wear my hair down or I am in for a world of pain. And I didn't bring my extra ponytail holders to do braids. So that was always a backup plan. But I was like, I really need some hairspray. So you would think that Walt Disney World and their gift shops that sell all kinds
belts.
of stuff. Huh?
They sell belts.
We learned that. If medicine, toothpaste, toothbrushes, everything you could think of. And I would give them if there was like an aerosol rule, but they sell the spray sunscreens because we had to buy. That's one thing I couldn't pack is because we used the spray sunscreens for the park and I didn't have a travel size. So we just knew we bought some in Magic Kingdom that day by people that did not believe that we had been married for 16 years. They thought that we were so much younger. So that was nice. And multiple cast members said that. I don't think people were trying to butter us up.
Sure.
But anyway, so what did you discover when you went out to the
Well,
gift shop?
they don't sell hairspray.
They don't sell hairspray at all.
My day was looking dark at that moment, and then we ended
No, but
up.
I was very nice about it. Like we did not overreact because I was like, well, I guess this is why I need to pay attention to details and be crazy Hope. So then what did we do?
That's not a positive outcome to me, but well, the lady in the front desk recommended just to have
DoorDash.
like not DoorDash, but like
Is DoorDash food?
DoorDash food, like Walmart's
Instacart.
Instacart thing.
And guys, where we live,
that doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. We have Click List at Walmart that you can make your order and you go pick it up, but we don't have Instacart. So we just kind of looked at her like, and then I could tell she was like, maybe they have been married for 16 years because this was another person that thought that we were way younger than we were at first. And then that probably, and I was like, well, we live in a really small town. So I did that. And I've had friends that I've traveled with that have done Instacart, but they've always done it on their accounts. So I had to make Disney's Coronado Springs Resort my primary address in my phone. And I ordered some hairspray. And then we were able to go on our merry way to Epcot. It was concerning when the Instacart person sent me a picture of weeds.
The bushes next to the
like the sign, right?
Yeah, like next to the car, like the main area where people.
I mean, you would think they would have taken. Is there a rule that they can't take a picture of the hotel?
I
or
don't
something?
know. I think maybe they just forgot.
I'm like, is my hairspray like in the garden? But then when we picked it up so we're a little tipsy coming back from Epcot.
Of course.
Because Epcot is.
You might have been a little. Never mind.
Excuse me. I think you were more than me. Anyway, we had a good time. We were vibing. It was fun. The vibes are great.
I had a steak in 2 bites.
He did a little steak from like the food
Well,
and
probably
wine
still
booths.
a 4-ouncer.
Anyway, we go back to the desk to go over right at Bell Services because that's where they just dropped it off. And I was like, I had an Instacart delivery of hairspray. They're like, oh, the hairspray, and you can tell those people.
They had been having a conversation
Like
about
who
this
would order? Because
delivery.
that's all we got.
Yeah.
We didn't get it because if we we're staying for a longer trip, I would have probably been like, fine, let's throw in some waters, Gatorades. But we were leaving, like we were literally checking out, stowing our bags Sunday morning, going to another park, then going to the airport. So all I had delivered was a single thing of hairspray. And you could tell that like it was like, who's the hairspray girl or man?
It's not me.
Yeah, you don't have enough hair to work with. So, and then we get the hairspray, and I look at it for a second, almost have a panic attack, thinking the Instacart person gave me
Because it looked
mousse
exactly
again.
the same as the mousse, didn't it?
Exactly the same. The black with the gold labeling, and just in fine, like I think almost like cursive writing. Then it said like what it was. But I'm like, did I just get mousse again?
If we have any marketing people out there, you guys have got to do a better job with these labels.
Because at one point, Daniel was like, am I going to have to Uber to the Walmart in Kissimmee, which is the closest Walmart to Disney property?
And I really didn't want to do that.
But other than that, it was a great trip. Great time at Epcot. A great time at Magic Kingdom. Great time at Hollywood Studios the next day. Hollywood Studios, we kind of crapped on it after our June trip because we were there on a day when nothing worked.
Yeah.
This trip, I don't know what it was. Maybe like other than the like hairspray mousse snafu was with us. Like Hollywood Studios is usually super crowded, very tame. Everything was working. We got in the park again. We got pixie dusted, free Starbucks. So that was a really sweet surprise. What are you laughing about?
You said pixie dust, and my mind just immediately went to crop dusting. So I don't know why.
Well, we probably had a lot of that thrown our way at
but
Disney Park too. But so that was sweet, and it was funny because normally I just give them my name for all the Starbucks orders because Hope is less common than Daniel. It's easier to hear. It's just easier. And she was like, "And what is your name?" And Daniel's like, "No, just." Give him her name. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. You can just put my name on his. And the woman was like, well, what's his name? And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, oh, she's putting something cute on the cup. So I was like, how nice. And then she's like, 16 years is something to both be proud of and celebrate. This one's on us. And it's just little things like that that just make me love Disney so much because it really was a very unexpected surprise. So we got our Starbucks because, yes, we're not the crazy people at Hollywood Studios that will just keep going back to our ride. We're like, we'd rather be caffeinated and not kill each other.
I think at this point in life, it's not rather be caffeinated. It's need to be caffeinated.
Need to be caffeinated. We're good to wait a little extra bit of time as long as we have that coffee. So we went right back to Rise of the Resistance, the Star Wars ride, the main Star Wars ride. Literally got in the line queue. I think they basically had, because they've been holding people there pretty much when we got there is when the ride started operating. Walked right through, like, sometimes you're in a line, you kind of stand around. No, we walked continuously the whole time, but still had time to enjoy our drinks. We're able to ride a lot of things. It was great.
Had some terrible pilots on Millennium Falcon.
We did. You know what, guys? If you have kids, let your kids be the gunners or the engineers, because kids are just there to have fun. Every time I have a kid pilot the Millennium Falcon, I feel like I need to almost puke when I'm done with it.
I don't put it on the kids. I don't put it on the parents. I put it on Disney. They missed. They designed a bad ride.
Yeah.
They designed a bad ride for the Millennium Falcon.
It would have been cooler if they had done it like, I get that
It's
can
a
go
bad
in the
ride.
ship. Okay, listen to me. Hear me out. The queue is great. When you go and you see like the little game table, all of that set up, that's cute. I like feeling like I'm in the ship. I would have almost rather done like a Star Tours Flight of Passage hybrid, and not had it be like it. Because the most fun I've ever had on Smuggler's Run was when it was just everybody in our group because we met some of the girls down there that were racing, so we knew everybody. And then I could heckle that pilot because they were my friend. Not somebody's like child.
But I don't care if you got two pilots who were the best pilots out there and knew exactly what they were doing.
It does make your ride different if you have a better pilot.
It's a bad ride.
Okay, you're going to make the Disney community mad. It's not a
Come
bad
for me.
ride.
It's a bad ride.
It's not a bad ride.
I love Star Wars. I do not like Avatar. Avatar Flight of Passage is a million times better than the Smuggler's Run.
I wouldn't call Smuggler's Run
Come for me.
Bad
I don't
ride,
care.
though.
It's a bad ride.
It's not a bad ride. It's okay. Anyway, so our flight was on time on the way back. I was really worried about that. Other than the only thing I would say is I was half
Big Mac Man.
Yeah, I'm like already half asleep because it was obviously we took the late flight out, and I'm like, what is that awful smell? That's the guy next to Daniel just pulls out this nasty McDonald's sandwich with pickles, and I never realized how bad McDonald's smelled until
until you're on a tin can with somebody eating it.
But I have to talk about the best thing besides celebrating our 16 years of marriage that happened to us while we were at our Walt Disney World whirlwind weekend. Do you know what that is? You got to see a different side of Hope. What's up with the silence, the pause? You don't want to kick it off?
I'm not singing.
You're not.
That's what you're
singing. I was
suggesting.
never gonna ask you to sing.
Okay.
Anyway, I knew.
I'm glad I had a few beers in me already when we got there.
I knew that Joey Fatone and Friends, I didn't know what the Friends detailed, were the Eat to the Beat performers. So, Epcot Food and Wine Festival, if you are not familiar, they have a concert series, Eat to the Beat. We've actually seen Boys to Men there. We've seen Hanson there. And we decided to go it just was a coincidence that Joey was there. Because that's what we decided to do for our anniversary dinner was we were going to go try the different. I tried a pickle milkshake. Not bad.
It was awful. It was absolutely disgusting.
Wasn't bad.
Anybody that drinks it and likes it is a freak.
I guess I'm a freak. He's so dramatic. I didn't like it, but it wasn't bad. The peanut butter and jelly wings that tasted like a peanut butter sandwich was weirder to me than the pickle milkshake because I wasn't expecting a chicken wing to taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. What about you?
Sorry, I see that. There's plenty of food out there that has peanut in it.
It tasted like I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my mouth.
Yeah.
But it was a chicken wing.
You know?
Weirder than the pickle milkshake.
Maybe weirder, not more disgusting.
Oh, whatever. The fry basket was good, though.
The fry basket was good, yes.
Anyway, so I'm like, we're getting closer to the American Pavilion where they do the concerts, and I'm like, let's stop by. And we happen to stumble upon, I'm like, that guy sounds exactly like Montel Jordan singing, "This is how we do it." Turns out it was. I guess he's one of the friends. And then my life was made. My life was complete. 13-year-old Hope. She lived her best life. And so did, I'm not going to say my age now, and don't you dare tell anybody. You got to see me revert. You got to see a side of me. You saw a little bit of that when we saw Hanson. But what was it like seeing 13-year-old Hope just scream?
We were pretty much at the back.
Yeah, there were people behind us because when people heard the tunes, they were jamming in behind us.
You could just see like the millennial women.
Yes.
Pick out who they were because they were the ones dancing and doing all the moves.
Oh, I still have the choreo memorized.
You were using your water bottle as a microphone.
Yes.
It was quite foolish.
So it was not foolish. It was quite amazing. And you had fun seeing me have fun.
Yeah.
Now, so then Joey's bringing out one of the friends. You guys, Lance freaking Bass. I want this NSYNC reunion to happen, but I think it needs to happen. But the fact that I got to see those two perform together, amazing. So they start off, they like made my millennial brain almost explode because they're like, okay, we're going to do this song that, it's popular from another band, but we're going to go ahead and sing it. They sang the Backstreet Boys, "I Want It That Way." I about lost my mind. And then you guys, they sang it. What'd they sing, Daniel? Bye, bye, bye.
Is that the name of the song?
Yes, bye, bye, bye.
Okay.
To bring down the house, close out the show. I still have the choreography memorized. Daniel got video. If anybody ever wants to see that, give us a show suggestion. Maybe I'll let you see it. It was on my Instagram story if you follow me back last weekend. I about rolled my ankle at one point. Actually, kind of did in the beginning. I got
that's on video too.
I got overzealous during the bye 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 choreography, so that just proves to me that if we do have a reunion tour, I'm gonna have to get in. And I run.
Tape your ankles up or something.
Yeah, I run a lot, but I'm gonna have to do some ankle strength. To help get in better shape too, because I got to get the dancing down.
No, I'm sorry. You all have now. We're on week 2 or 3.
Be quiet.
We are on week 2 or 3 of all
it's
of you
gonna happen.
Claiming that they're going to get back together.
We know they're reuniting for the
you
Trolls
all look
movie.
like clowns.
No, we know they're reuniting for the Trolls movie. There's rumors of a all boy band Super Bowl. That would be amazing. But I really need that reunion tour to happen. And listen, if you were born after 1993, this is not for you. You don't get to buy tickets first. Just saying. If we have any super young listeners out there, probably not. But it was great and it was fun, and I know you had fun too.
People born after 1990, like 93ers are 30 this year.
Yeah, and they don't get to come.
Oh, okay.
This is for us. Yeah. Goodbye.
Right.
But it was amazing. It was so amazing. We could not have again, part of the weekend minus the Moose hairspray fiasco of everything going right. We hit that concert at the exact right time. Would I have loved to seen the whole thing? Yes, absolutely. I would have just loved to see their entire set, but we knew we had limited time and it was our anniversary, so we were doing things we
Yeah.
like together.
I wager that if the moose hairspray thing hadn't happened, the timing would have been different,
It might have been off. I might have, or I would have just made you save the whole time for the concert, but
which would have killed the vibe
yes.
for me. So
And you still had time to stop by the Canada booth as we were
get
leaving
my
World
steak,
Showcase
yeah.
to make the rounds to get the steak at the food and wine booth, and you ate it in like 2 bites.
I stabbed it with a fork and took a bite, and
then we
finished the rest of
meandered
it.
around Connections. Or Creations. I always get it confused. Connections is the cafe. Creations is the gift shop. Get better names, Epcot, of your new stuff. And we meandered around there, looked at all the Halloween merch because it's Halloween in August at Walt Disney World, and got on the bus, and we pretty much lived our best lives last weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
And then this past weekend, this Friday, we also had a different way to live our best lives. Again, small town life, guys. So our nearest Target and our nearest Starbucks is how far away? Would
About
you say?
50 minutes.
About
This
50
is not 50 like city traffic light minutes. This is like
mileage.
straight up going 60 miles an hour on a 2-lane road.
So, I mean,
50 minutes.
Thursday, August 24th was a holiday. That's where Starbucks released their pumpkin spice line, their fall drinks back out. Again, millennial women, here we are coming for you. So for our little date night, we drove down together, went to Target,
Bought cereal.
to do some errands, got Chipotle for dinner. We were really the trifecta, and to get our Starbucks. And I told you, let's go into Target because I need to get some seasonal stuff. And what did you think I meant by
I thought
that?
you meant you wanted to go to the seasonal section of Target where they get the Halloween decorations or the
and
fall
I still
decorations.
looked at some of that.
And we get half just barely into the store, and you're like, well, here's the cereal aisle. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, this is what I wanted to get. I just wanted to come here and buy cereal.
Again, our Walmart where we live does not get seasonal things. So last year I had to do the same thing at Target. We walked out of there because you got some cereal too. With how many boxes of cereal? I got
5.
3, 4, yeah, 5 boxes of cereal. Not a decoration in sight.
No, not one.
So, yeah. Anyway,
this is We Watch TV, the podcast about TV that we watch, and we watched or have continued to watch The OC, our rewatch of The OC. Last time we talked about it, we had just watched the pilot episode 1, but this time we made a pretty significant dent. Now, we did miss talking about it last week because we devoted that whole episode to Succession. So hopefully in weeks going forward, it won't be quite as many episodes that we talk about here.
Maybe it will be.
Or maybe it will be. But what we got, 9 episodes that we got through episode 2 through 10?
10 episodes of The OC. So that would be 9 more since you're right, then 9 since we talked about the pilot in the first one. And like you said, last week was our Succession episode, so maybe in the future we won't have as much, but I don't know. We're getting some new shows coming back, which we'll talk about, but then kind of the waters run a little dry on some shows. So we tried to watch a movie earlier today at the time of this recording, and it was a bust. So we're like, let's just screw it. Let's just watch more OC.
Yeah.
So we watched. These are some of the episodes that we watched. The OC episode 2, The Model Home. I have some random show notes that I've apparently written down.
I do want to say that when we talked about the pilot, I made comments about the production value. And it's definitely better when they got to episode 2. You can see truly the difference between what a pilot is. The thing I think I point to the most is the sound in the kitchen of the Coen's house. It was really echoey and bad in the pilot, and it's
better?
Cleared up completely in the regular episodes. They're still not getting their dubbing very well.
But I think a lot of shows from that time period struggle with it, because when we watched One Tree Hill, we noticed that too. Now, I know we just talked about Succession last week, but since you mentioned pilot, I keep seeing all these things. They were like the pilot episode of Succession. Roman did have a wife. He did have kids. They've redone that. So do shows like that have pilots? Because I think some people consider the pilot the first episode, but then they actually have the industry term, the pilot episode.
Yeah, I think so when it comes to shows like Succession, they do make that first episode, but it's only really presented as a pilot to the producers and execs at the company. Whereas
because he did look like he had a wedding ring on.
Yeah, but it's not like they aired the pilot of Succession and then 3 months go by and then there's the rest of the season.
Anyway, the OC, a lot of what I really liked about this first batch of OC episodes is so much of them, school hasn't even started. Like, we just got into the school starting ones like today at the time of this recording while we were watching. But the second one, for some reason, Hulu wants us to keep playing the OC episode 2, the model home.
Terrible app.
Did you say terrible app?
Terrible app. Yeah.
But Hulu's our favorite one.
It's been cranky lately.
Yeah.
It's been cranky lately. It's been crashing more often than it ever has, and now it's like you said, it's stuck on that episode.
Only Murders made that joke about.
I know.
Paramount Plus. They like hex themselves. So my show notes for episode 2, I just have mixed CDs, and then there's a quote. I don't remember who said it, but you're a little far from 8 Mile. Did Luke say that to Ryan?
Oh, that sounds like a Luke thing.
Yeah.
I have a note from this episode called because Ryan is living in the model home.
Yes,
and my question is, it's an unfinished model home, and they went out of their way to make note that it's unfinished.
Yes.
Does it have a working bathroom?
I don't know. Does he have to go in the bushes?
Or is he just going in a bucket outside? I mean,
they really didn't answer that. This is also where we got the infamous Ryan quote. You know what I like about rich kids? Nothing. And then they played, the Hallelujah was playing, and my note was, I always think of Shrek when I hear this song. That's just what I wrote.
Congratulations.
And then my other note was, Ryan has the street smarts. And lack of Summer. Rachel Bilson's character, still not in the opening. I don't think she's in the opening credits as of episode 10. She's becoming more and more of a prominent character, but she was still
She's very one-dimensional at those first couple episodes.
And in the model home, that's where they burn it down because Luke and Ryan obviously have a fight. But we learn that Luke does have a soul. He sort of does love Marissa, kind of. He's not a total jerk, but he's still a jerk. Do you still call him Truck Nuts?
Absolutely.
You've been really concerned about his truck.
He has a I think I have it in the note here. Yeah. He had a white truck in the pilot, and now he has a black truck.
So do we think they switched trucks on him, or Luke's just rich enough he would drive 2 different trucks?
Well, I mean, if you were going to explain it away, you would say he just got a new truck and he's rich. But, that's just a mistake.
So episode 3 of the OC, called The Gamble, I believe I said when we first started the OC rewatch, I was like, I don't think we see Ryan's mom again. Pfft. Incorrect. So Ryan's mom comes up. She is a hot mess. I have Hot Mess Express for Ryan's mom in my notes. You really see how childlike Ryan is in this episode. So I'm further reminded that, he's a teen. That's when Kirsten finally comes around to the idea.
Why did they decide to take an alcoholic to a casino-themed party?
I have no idea.
With real casino games and alcohol just flooding everywhere.
I have no idea.
That's on them. That was a bad idea.
I think it's sometimes like Kirsten and Sandy just forget that people do. I mean, I know they have their own problems, but who knows? I thought it was a bad idea too. Still lack of Rachel Bilson in credits. No Caleb Nickel. He still has not shown up. I guess because he's now we're at the episodes where Caleb's really becoming prominent. I guess I thought he was more villainy early on.
He didn't show up until much later than I remembered him being in. For such a prominent
Jimmy
character.
Cooper is a mess.
You don't have to repeat that. You can just, for the series, you can just keep that there.
What?
Jimmy Cooper is a mess.
So what do you think about Jimmy Cooper so far and what we've seen?
He's a mess.
He's a mess.
I'm confused.
But you're not Team Julie Cooper either, right?
No, I'm confused, though. The whole drama with Jimmy throughout the 10 episodes we've watched so far.
That he stole from his clients.
It's like at the beginning, it was very serious stuff.
Like that he was going to go to jail.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, he's getting a divorce and living in his own apartment, but the jail threat is completely gone. Yeah,
because at first Sandy was like, you can sell everything, not go to jail, or you can keep stuff and go to jail. But now it's like there's option 3. I think we're led to believe in a throwaway line where Sandy joins the firm to work with
the
Mona
corporate evil
from
firm.
Friends.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Mona? Yeah, because she's on the OC now, hitting on my boo Sandy Cohen. That's what's wrong with Mona. She plays Rachel on the OC, Sandy's partner.
It was sloppily done. I understand why they did it.
They were like, oh, no one wanted to touch that case but you. And I think that's for us to be like, oh, somehow Sandy worked a deal that even though Jimmy's getting divorced and Julie's keeping some stuff.
Because now he's looking for a job.
Yeah.
Who's going to hire a guy that was under SEC
Caleb
investigation?
Said when Caleb does show up in an episode, he was basically like, no, I'm not going to hire you to Jimmy. And that's where Julie Cooper starts sniffing around because she's got a secure the bag. So even though Jimmy's a mess, though, what do you think about evil Julie Cooper?
Oh, she's awful.
She gets better as the series goes on. She's like a Disney villain. She could be the evil queen. I have like in my notes here, like
that
Julie
last
could be the
episode
evil
we
queen.
watched where Ryan catches Caleb going into her house.
Yeah.
And she kind of sees that Ryan saw. Just the look she gets. I think it's because of the angle, because she's trying to look up to where he's at. It's just like
Mother Gothel,
like evil.
Gothel,
Yeah,
like evil queen vibes. Like Melinda Clarke could be like a Disney villain. So obviously that's where Ryan's mom basically is like, I can't parent him. You can be his mother. So that's where the Coens officially take Ryan in. And we have Kirsten come around to it. Then we have the OC episode 4. I don't know why I just said it, because we're watching the OC. I'm just reading off my show notes. The debut. And that's where we have, I can't say it right,
The cotillion.
Oh,
that's right. Because you can't. You have to say it with the Appalachian. The cotillion.
Cotillion. Am I saying it right? Cotillion.
Cotillion. Yeah.
I always wanted to have a cotillion. We didn't have those in Parkersburg, at least. And if we did, I sure wasn't invited. But I know Rory Gilmore got one on the Gilmore Girls. They had one on the OC. The One Tree Hill kids, they weren't rich enough to get them.
Well, a cotillion is your introduction to polite society.
Yes.
And so you would have to live in a polite society to be introduced to.
Are you saying that Parkersburg is not polite society where I'm from?
No, I've been there.
What about Rio Grande?
No, absolutely not. There's not even society there.
So, and
it's just
cotillion,
anarchist chaos.
We have Jimmy, again, a mess. That's where he gets punched because all his problems come out. Summer, still not in credits. Still not really fleshed out, but we're getting more of her.
She's not in credits. I don't think she's going to be in credits this whole season.
We'll have to wait and see. But her role is getting more and more prominent.
Yeah, she's getting a bigger role, but they're not going to redo those credits. Because
but she was still kind of she and Seth had some scenes in this, but she's still kind of very much a background character. We're introduced to Anna. Anna from Pittsburgh. Ew.
And she's in this episode, and then she doesn't show up again until they get back to school.
So they go back to school. I feel like I have my notes about Anna. She's the OG manic pixie dream girl trope. And you said at the time, yes, absolutely. You said that.
I agree.
She's like basically her role right now, a manic pixie dream girl.
This was years before Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, like years before that movie. So, which they all say originates it, but I think Anna is, I
also think you hate on Anna too much.
We're team Seth and Summer in this house, so even though she's finally starting to get some depth there, you better not.
I think you hate on her a little too much.
I do not hate on Anna. Anna's mean. Anna is the type of person, it's like that episode of 30 Rock where Liz Lemon goes to her reunion and they're like, you were mean. Like, not all like the nerd, and Anna's not a nerd either, but the people that, like, they always have this thing like that everybody's mean to them. Well, they can be mean to other people too, and Anna can be very mean. But yes, I don't hate on Anna. Be quiet. But the original manic pixie dream girl thing is that your role is to kind of advance like a main character's like goals and needs, and obviously she's there to kind of help, eventually, even though he's gonna have a little flame with her too, get him to a place where he'll be with Summer. Also, Anna is a pick-me girl. I've noticed that now that we've seen her in the school show up. Like, basically a pick-me girl is like, I'm not like other girls. I'm so different. I'm so cool. And it's just like, because she was like, Summer's favorite activity is shopping. I'm like, what is wrong with shopping? I love to shop. We are Seth and Summer fans in this house. So, episode 5, The Outsider. The Outsider. This is where I'm getting it in for Daniel right now. Star Trek reference. James T. Kirk from Strange New Worlds, also known as Paul Wesley, also known as Stefan Salvatore from the Vampire Diaries, shows up. But I kept saying to you, I think that I knew Paul Wesley was in an early episode, and this episode was starting, and I'm like, well, maybe he's not in this one. And then you noticed something that I didn't notice.
Well, the credits after the main credits, and when they're just naming the other people that are in the show. Yeah. Paul Weskanowski, I think what it was.
I don't remember. It was
showed up,
crazy.
And I was like, well, there he is. Because to me, it was obvious that he just changed his name. Because I had told you, I was like, I think
this might be the Paul Wesley episode.
And you were like, no, that's not him. And I had to look it up. And yes, I was correct.
I didn't know that I can see why he changed his last name.
Once again,
that last name would be hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense to me. So, what do you think about seeing Paul Wesley in one episode of the OC? His character was a little unhinged.
had a Jersey accent, which is supposedly more closer to Paul's actual accent.
I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, it was a one and done character. It's kind of, it's strange to me that Ryan still works at the Crab Shack, and you always like wonder what went down there.
Well, Ryan was working there the other episode.
Yeah, I know.
What went down there? Paul Wesley's character pulled a gun on Luke
And shot him.
Yes, which I still think that I feel like he was just waving the gun around, and that Ryan actually made the situation worse by trying to be a hero. And I don't. Do we think that Paul Wesley's character was actually gonna shoot?
I don't know.
Do we remember what Paul Wesley's character's name was?
No.
You were like, he's skinnier now. That's one thing that you noticed, because what did the Star Trek people complain so much about?
A lot of Star Trek people complain that Paul Wesley is too skinny to be Kirk.
Did they not realize that Kirk, probably like most men, was skinnier when they were younger?
They're complaining he doesn't fill out the uniform enough.
I think he fills out that uniform just right.
That's I don't. You know, like, I'm a fan of shows, but I've never been. I don't think in my life I've ever been a big enough fan of a thing to criticize stuff that minute.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a strange thing to criticize, but
Ryan and Marissa have a playful moment in the pool in that episode, so they have that teenage awkwardness and angst. I have that written in my notes, because sometimes in these shows you watch and it's hard to remember that they're teenagers, and I feel like in the One Tree Hill universe they were more adult, like, much faster than the OC universe is. The OC, they still, I know it's going to get bananas soon, but they still feel like kids to me.
Is this
in many ways?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I agree. Is this the episode? Is this the episode where they hooked up?
I don't remember.
Which leads me into the question for you: what is hooking up mean to you?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Summer I Turned Pretty later, and those kids keep saying, like, oh, Belly and Jeremiah. Jeremiah's like, we hooked up last summer, and I'm like, is that something kids are saying now when they mean kissing? I'm like, that's
clearly what the OC meant.
I think about hooking up as something different, but then we're watching the OC, a show, 20 years old, and they're like, well, so-and-so hooked up, and I'm like, wait a minute, when did I get it in my head that hooked up meant something different?
Meant they did it.
Because if hooked up is just kissing, then I've hooked up with a lot of people.
Guy really loves to hear that.
I mean, so what do you guys think hooked up meant? When did our definition change?
Is it like a Mandela effect thing?
I don't know.
Like we just always thought that? I don't remember ever thinking that meant anything other than doing it.
I feel like somebody on the Reddit, because there's a lot of elder millennials that have the chokehold that the Summer I Turned Pretty has on us, because we're all trying to chase that OC One Tree Hill high from back when these shows were live. So that's why we're all obsessed with this show. And there was even commentary on there, like, is this what the kids are calling it now? Like, hooking up is just kissing? And then that theory was completely debunked when we watched that episode of the OC. So, I mean, if I guess by that definition, I guess I've hooked up with people. Anyway, moving on. One of my notes is Marissa, scrunched hair. I really like my notes. I used to wear my hair scrunched all the time, like how Marissa does with the gel. And I just it's like a style thing. The same episode with The Outsider, we have the Range Rover IMAX episode where Seth drives it to the party at Paul Wesley's, neck of the woods, and it gets destroyed, and they tell Kirsten and Sandy that it got messed up at the IMAX theater. Episode 6, we have to wait till episode 6 to meet Caleb Nichol. That's his first appearance. This episode 6 is called The Girlfriend, and Caleb Nichol's girlfriend is how old?
24.
And I don't care if she's 24. Her coming on to Ryan is gross. That's gross.
Yeah.
That's an adult.
He also asks Seth if he's been out chasing skirt.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, how old is this guy?
Didn't you write down in your show notes the comment that Seth said back to him?
Seth said something back, like, if by chasing skirt you mean courting women in your weird cowboy speak or whatever it is. Like, yeah, that was pretty funny. Quip back, but it was that line just took me out of the show for a second, because that just seemed like a really weird thing to say.
Well, he's like, oh, have you been chasing skirt or something like that? Because Caleb Nichol's not the best the best guy. Obviously, that's where we first see the
I
tension.
mean, it only would have been weirder had he been chasing broads or something, like just
I think
like
chasing Skirt is like he'd be like the silent generation, right? Because he's not the greatest generation. Caleb.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Kirsten and Sandy, they're Xers.
They're boomers.
Right? They're boomers.
They're boomers.
Okay.
Most likely.
And then the kids, they're like our age.
Yeah.
I still think Caleb Nichols attractive. I thought he was attractive back then. So I could see how he pulled a 24-year-old with that kind of money. We get Seth and Summers.
I'm sorry.
First kiss.
I'll be honest with you. I got like quasi escort vibes from her. Like,
oh yeah.
Like that was almost like.
So we think it's like a con head situation with
yeah,
Willa?
like.
I don't think escort so much as she's with him for the money.
Sure,
he's paying
right.
For stuff,
I mean, you explain to me the difference.
Well, some of them have like a legitimate like business service, and like that's actually
some of them
like
are
their
just
work
small business owners.
that they do. I think she was just around because he's paying for stuff.
I agree, but I just
And she had the mentality of like the teens, like when they were.
Yeah,
all
she had much
fighting.
more in common with them.
Still gross for her to come on to Ryan. Gross.
Yeah, I agree.
You interrupted me when I said that's technically Seth and Summer's first kiss, because that's where we get the poem where Seth's like, I remember when you read the poem, and she kisses him, and then of course she acts like she doesn't remember it, but finally got a breadcrumb there. And then episode 7, we have the escape where they go to Tijuana, TJ, and I have to say,
No one calls it that.
One time someone was like mentioning Tijuana to me in life. I don't know what we were talking about. The OC had been like long gone.
Why were you talking about that?
I don't know. And I was like, oh, you mean like TJ? And then is the OC the only show? And I think it's only Summer that calls it TJ too. Do we hear any of the other kids call it TJ?
I don't know. I've never heard Tijuana called that.
But like I said, oh, you mean TJ?
Not
and
that
they're like, what?
Not that I've been involved in a lot of conversations about Tijuana, but
that's like my literal note from the Tijuana episode, TJ. So that's where Luke, say him by the nickname that you call him,
Truck Nuts,
is revealed to just be a dirty, dirty dog. So Marissa, being mad that Ryan kissed the 24-year-old could be Seth's grandma in the previous episode, decides, as teenagers do, to overreact, and she gives Luke her flower, which was quite the mistake. She shouldn't have done that. And that's also where she finds out that Jimmy and evil Julie Cooper, her parents, are getting a divorce. So she's a hot mess express. She's really a mess the whole series. And then we find out that Luke has been cheating on Marissa for years, since they've been together since the 5th grade. I mean, scandal.
I'm going to drop a Friends reference here and just go back to that. Give her flower for a second and just remind you that if you keep calling it that, no one's going to want to take it.
I was hoping that Friends fans would just have implied the reference.
No, we're in your face here at this podcast.
I guess so. So Marissa takes Summer's stepmom's pills, chases it down with some alcohol. Very dark. This is where the OC got a little dark.
It definitely got dark, yeah.
She almost kills herself and dies, so that's scary. But then, because it's TV, things are okay. We have the OC episode 8, the rescue, and I want to say they're okay. But Julie is mad, and Julie Cooper's her mom. She deserves to be mad. We get it. She's mad at Jimmy. She's mad at everybody. She's basically lost all her wealth. She's from Riverside. She wants to, which apparently is just as, not rich like Chino. I don't really know much about California geography. I only know of like Riverside, the high school in West Virginia. That's what I think of every time they mention that. So she's really mad. She's yelling at everybody. And you're like, oh, well, maybe she's just concerned, even though she's evil. But then she's like, I want full custody. And what does she want to do with Marissa? She wants to like commit her.
Yeah, it's like a psychiatric ward in San Diego.
And Marissa meets with the psychologist who's like, I recommend you do therapy, but we can do that at home or at the institute. That's what they call it. And at that point, that's where we know Julie's totally evil, because she's like, no, we're going to send, I can't deal with this. We're going to send her to the institute. So the kids bust Marissa out of the hospital. I don't know what they're thinking the end game would be, because the parents would eventually find, they're kids again, right?
Yeah, they're kids. They're not thinking about end games.
So this is also the first look at the Harbor, I think it's called Harbor High School, where they attend. Really nice high school.
I have,
I I knew you were going to say that.
I have a bone to pick with the producers and of this show, because I'm assuming it's called the Harbor because it's on that harbor, and you can, in a lot of
That would
shots,
make sense.
they go out of their way to
And
show
their
you.
mascot, like the pirates.
Yeah, they go out of their way to show you shots of the lunch area where they sit, and you can see
like,
the ocean in the
ocean,
background.
yeah.
Except here's the thing, that's not there.
It's a
The
blue
last
screen or
episode we
green
were
screen.
watching, there was Ryan and
He made
Seth.
us rewind this to see it, guys. Go on.
They were sitting there at the table right next to it, and the very first establishing
Anna.
shot, Ryan had his back to the ocean, and you could see it, and you were like, wow, that's beautiful. That would be a great place to eat lunch.
I know, I'm like, I want to go to school there.
Later in the conversation, when they returned to Ryan, the background is just L.A.
Yep. And they try to make it look like a tree was covering.
Yeah,
the
they
ocean, but
changed the angle of the shot just slightly, so
You
it didn't
guys,
look like there was
Again,
a.
he rewound this like twice so he could point it out to me. He was like the Leo meme pointing at the TV, like, look at this, look at this.
I'm just trying to add value to your viewing experience.
I guess so. So the OC episode 9, The Heights. School has officially started. Sandy is at his new firm. He's not working for what was he working with, like the DA before?
Yeah.
So he's working with, Rachel, who played Mona on Friends. What is wrong with Mona? That actress, we found out, we did some math. She was playing like a 33-year-old, I think, on the OC, but 29 in real life, which makes me think she was really young in Friends, because I was like, wow, I know that the OC was only a couple years after she was Mona on Friends, but I'm like, she looks way younger on the OC, which again, people, if you ever watch like late 90s, early 2000s shows, fashion, now it did age men a little bit, because I think Jimmy looks younger on the OC than he did on Friends as well. But women, hairstyles, makeup really aged us, because she does look way younger on the OC. I'm just saying. And I feel like we notice this all the time, but that could be a whole other rant. So we've got the conflict with Caleb and Kirsten's company. With Caleb's company, Kirsten works for him, and Sandy's job. Their company wants to build in the Heights, which is like a nature thing. In real life, would Sandy, the lawyer, take this case?
He shouldn't. He should definitely say conflict of
Yes.
interest.
And he
turn it
does
down.
mention that it's a conflict
But,
of interest and ethics, but stupid
I mean,
Rachel convinces him.
in real life, you see plenty of people doing things that are
guess
conflicts of
so.
interest, and they don't get called out on it because we don't have strong ethics laws in this country.
Whole other conversation. So obviously there's some tension between Kirsten and Sandy because of that. Ryan feels like he needs a school activity, so he joins the soccer team. I don't know. I think we do see Ryan play soccer maybe one other time, but again, I clowned myself when I was like, I don't think we see Ryan's mom again at all. So maybe he'll be like a soccer champion. I don't know. I can't remember.
Sometimes I feel like this show is being written like week to week.
It sometimes feels like that.
Because storylines show up and then disappear immediately.
But I think we
when
do
they
see
just-
him in soccer a little bit
Yeah,
more.
but they just, because they're trying to find what fits and what
Their
doesn't.
groove. And this is kind of like, I can tell they probably had a little break after that summer set of episodes, and now we're at like in the school, kind of the school
Yeah,
year
because I was
episodes.
looking, the next episode we're looking at is Thanksgiving.
We're getting the Thanksgiving episode the next time we watch. I love the Thanksgiving episode. Yay!
Well, that's not Christmas, though.
No, Christmas goes after the Thanksgiving episode. And then there's the New Year's episode, all three iconic episodes. But the Heights also has the carnival where we have the iconic scene on the Ferris wheel, the kiss scene between Ryan and Marissa, where Paint the Silence plays, a song that 20 years later I still listen to and have on my Spotify playlist. And then the last episode that we have watched, the OC episode 10, The Perfect Couple, that is the yacht party when it is revealed that Julie Cooper and Caleb Nickel have been hooking up because Julie's like, Jimmy is broke now. Can't rely on him, so I got to secure the bag. So why not go after the richest man in Newport? So I think this might be one of the last times we see Caitlin Cooper played by Shailene Woodley, because then we don't see Caitlin for a couple years. It's assumed she's at boarding school, and then they replace the actresses. So for some reason, I remember the most random tidbits of shows, and she's like, hey, Ryan. And that snide voice. We get Summer admitting that she likes Seth Cohen, finally. So my ship's starting to pick up, but dumb old Anna has to be in the way for a little bit. Not hating on Anna, but Team Seth and Summer.
A little bit of hate there, I think.
No.
A little bit. So
Seth and Summer forever. Anna could have stuck around and been with somebody else. That would have been fine with me. So yeah, we are 10 episodes in. We have just gotten to the start of school. I think one of my favorite things about this rewatch is seeing the clothes, because it's like, now of course they're probably wearing the actual fashion labels and I probably wore like knockoffs, but like how I used to dress, that's fun. It's like and the OC's funny. Like at least the first season was funny. Do you not agree? Like it's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. It's definitely got humor into it.
Especially like Seth. Even Seth says, "What am I here for? Just comedic relief."
Yeah.
So a little meta moment there. So what are you thinking so far? 10 episodes in.
I'm enjoying it. It's better than other things you've had me watch. Certainly.
Better than One Tree Hill.
I agree. Yes, better than One Tree Hill.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you this then, as we wrap up this segment of our OC rewatch. That we promise this, unless you want us to, that this one probably took a little longer because we've had more episodes to think on. Peyton Sawyer or Marissa Cooper, 2 tragic leads. Which one would you rather kick around and hang out with?
Peyton.
Peyton, me too. I think Peyton. I think honestly.
Oh, I thought you were going to burn me for answering so quickly.
No. We actually already talked about this. You probably just don't remember. My thing with One Tree Hill kids is that they, until that season, or until probably after season 3 went off the rails, is the One Tree Hill kids were like more relatable, I think, to our teenage experiences in a way, because the OC, that's just, they're like so rich.
Yeah.
And I think that while Marissa was a very tragic character and so was Peyton, Marissa was just so tragic, and like Peyton would still, I think, could joke around a little more. So Brooke Davis or Summer, which one would you rather hang out with? Because I'd say they're kind of similar. Haley doesn't really have any similarities to OC people.
You know, it's like eventually I know it's probably Summer, but right now it's probably Brooke.
Even like season 1 Brooke?
I don't know. Summer's just so one-dimensional right now. Even 10 episodes
Whoa! In, she is finally starting to show her depth and her characterization.
Barely.
She is.
Barely.
Did you know that Summer is like one of my favorite TV characters of all time?
Okay.
And she is starting to show her depth.
Okay.
So I will fight you on this. I would definitely hang out with Sandy Cohen more than Dan Scott.
Oh, for sure. Why would you even compare those two?
I would say Dan Scott and Julie Cooper are more comparable to...
Or
Caleb.
Yeah, I wouldn't compare.
The parents on the OC are so
Sandy
much better.
I would hang out with Sandy over any of those people, period. Stop.
Yeah.
Name a better one.
I mean, Karen is nice on One Tree Hill, but she's kind of dull.
Yeah, Sandy surfs.
He's fun.
He's chill. He wants to keep things light. Sandy's awesome.
It's all around a good time. So that concludes this week's segment of our OC rewatch. So since our podcast last aired, we have had 2 different finales of 2 different shows. So we'll get started on the one we're watching together. And just like that, which has been renewed for a season 3.
But boy, they did not know that when they wrote this episode.
Yeah, and I have a lot of things to say about it. Oh, you kick us off, and then I'll jump in.
I mean, the whole episode is she's saying goodbye to the apartment that she's selling.
Apartment, the iconic apartment that Carrie Bradshaw's had.
She's selling it because she and Aiden are going to go cohabitate in this new place they've bought.
That's like 4 bedrooms for his goblin children.
Honestly, the whole episode, like, whatever. Kim Cattrall does her $1 million cameo at the beginning, which is like,
Samantha.
Man, if I could get paid $1 million for doing that work.
I was kind of hoping that we all knew that Kim Cattrall does a cameo via like FaceTime or whatever. I was really hoping it would have been not just with Carrie, that it would have been with all the girls. Instead, it was like, oh, I can't make it to your last supper party. I was going to surprise you, put me on speaker. I'll say goodbye to the apartment. And it almost felt like she was just saying like, hey, fans, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Like almost like a wink, but they got her to come on.
So,
she got the paid. She got paid the big bucks. Good for her.
To me, the episode is that, and then at the end, when Aiden finally does show up, the party's over. He comes up to the apartment, actually walks into the apartment.
Which he's been all weird about because he's been refusing to step
all
foot
weird
in the
about
apartment.
all season, and then immediately is like, yeah. So
and
here's
let's just
the thing.
say he comes in smugly to the apartment. Like he walks in with a smug smile. I did, which we didn't talk about the episode before that. The episode before the finale of And Just Like That. We learn at the end of the episode that Aiden's son Wyatt, who we knew was going to be an issue, that was always like, "Come home, Dad," like took shrooms and
got
drank
high
beer
on shrooms,
and crashed
drank
a
beer,
car,
drove his truck home. Yeah, and crashed it.
And of course, Aiden's going to be upset about
He's
that.
14.
14.
Sure.
Of course, Aiden's going to be upset about that. Fine.
Yeah. Right, because everybody
Yeah.
was making fun of Aiden
Crying in the car,
man baby
yeah.
crying in the car.
It did remind me of the
And
Anchorman. I'm a glass case of
I
emotion.
just wanted to make this statement for men is that we are very much taught not to show emotion.
Yes.
And not to put that stuff out there. And if Carrie had been the one ugly crying in a car like that, nobody
Yeah.
would be criticizing her over that.
I think it
It's
was
really
more the
difficult.
acting.
I think the acting could. It wasn't the
like
best
John
acting
Corbett,
in the
but
world
it
ever. But
It was cringe.
you've seen me cry like that once in my life.
Yes, it was awful.
And if you objectively saw me doing that, wouldn't you be like, "Gosh, that's a bit much, don't you think?"
Oh, no, I'm not watching a TV show, so that's life.
What I'm telling you is, there is a double standard there.
It really lingered on that scene,
It
though.
lingered a while, yes. But I'm here to defend Aiden, and I'm here to defend that actor in that scene. I thought
But
that
you're not defending Aiden for the whole episode,
no,
right?
not that.
Just scene,
This is
okay.
the episode before for him crying like that because he felt comfortable enough with Carrie that he could do that.
Yeah.
And that and for men out there who know what I'm talking about, it takes a lot to feel comfortable with
agree.
somebody to be able to cry like that in front of them, and then to have a bunch of the fans go, "What was that all like?" Like those are people who are clearly they don't have a man in their life who feels comfortable enough with them to cry
Yeah.
like that.
I think a lot of it was the acting, though.
I'll get off my soapbox for the day.
Anyway, so that's what's going on with Aiden. So he went home to deal with that. So he saunters into the apartment finally, and we're like, oh, he's finally coming into the apartment. The whole time I've been thinking they're probably going to break up because I'm like, how are they going to be in-game? What's going on? And I'm like, oh, he's coming into the apartment. Is he going to be, like, nice? And then basically he doesn't break up with her, but he is so weird about
They're
it.
taking the biggest Ross Rachel break anyone has ever seen.
He's like, and I feel like Aiden would be the type that would be more like, is he gonna be like, can they see other people? He's like, okay,
Right, that wasn't established either, was it?
nothing
Like,
was established. I have a lot of questions. He's like, I have to be there for my son, which okay,
who names their kid Wyatt?
perfectly in character that Aiden would choose his kids number one for what we know of Aiden.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everything else, what are you doing? Then he trashes his ex-wife, Kathy. He's like, she's off, working and being with her boyfriend. I have to be there. And he's like, I have one kid that's 20. He's like, in 5 years, Wyatt will be whatever age. He's like, and then we can get back together. He's like, the past 10 years since I last saw you just flew by. He's like, and then he does this like arrogant, like little Thanos finger snap. Like 5 years will be like nothing.
But he doesn't snap to say like,
Yeah, I don't. And then somehow Carrie's like, well, because at first Carrie's like, well, take all the time you need. How much time do you need? And he's like, I can't come to New York every weekend. She's like, okay, that's fine. I'll come to you. And he's like, no. Basically, Aiden was like, I can't look at you or think about you or date you for 5 years cold turkey because I have to go be such a helicopter parent that my kid's going to probably need even more therapy than he already does. And it was just so weird to me. And I feel like the writers did this as a way to be like, because they weren't sure they were going to get a season 3, so they tried to like appease off fan bases. So fans that necessarily didn't want Carrie and Aiden to end up together might assume they didn't, but then to appease everybody else that wanted them to end up together and be like, oh, don't worry, they'll get together in 5 years. So I'm supposed to buy that Carrie is ending the season with my favorite new character from Sex and the City, the cat, Shu. Her kitten that she named Shu, as a cat lady,
I was
just
like,
waiting around for Aiden for like 5 years. What? Like, I'm glad they're getting to season 3, and I hope they immediately right that wrong. But like, I thought he walked up smug into that apartment to basically like to break up with her, but he didn't really break up with her, so he could still look like that white knight, like I'm so perfect. It was weird, it was cringe, and then I could even see if he like, let's see what happens down the line, but it was like very ironclad, this whole 5 years thing. And then Carrie at first seemed upset about it. She even said what Aiden said when they broke up in season 4, like something to the effect of like, I can't believe we're back here again. So all the fans noticed that little wink. Then they do it, and I'm thinking they're doing it in her old place, but then it's like they teleported into like her new place. So she bought this big old house for him and his, goblin-y kids, and that's what I'm going to call them. Somebody called them that on Reddit. Fine with Aiden choosing his kids, but I'm like, his kids are a mess. They need therapy. Everybody needs therapy. And it's just like, and then Aiden leaves, and she's like, I want you to know all of this, and points to the house like it wasn't a mistake.
And then he was like, he puts his finger up to do like the 5-year snap, but doesn't snap. And what?
It was
Why the 5 years,
odd.
Aiden?
Yeah.
I feel like even there's a big group of people that are, and I am I would have been fine with Carrie and Aiden ending up together because he does have some nice qualities, but I've never been, I never will be an Aiden apologist. There's a group of Sex and the City fans that act like Aiden could never do any wrong and that Carrie was so evil and superficial and blah, blah, blah. I've even seen them be like, what? Like, I need to know, people that watch this, is anybody defending Aiden after this? So now I actually am on board with your idea.
Bring back Burger, baby.
Bring back Enter Burger season 3 now that we've gotten it. Because when we saw Burger, he was just mentally a mess.
Yeah.
And had a lot of issues going on. And I think of Carrie's love interest, Burger was the one that was most like her in terms of personality. Now, that can be a bad thing, though. You never want to date somebody that's exactly like you. I couldn't date somebody exactly like me. Could you date somebody exactly like you?
No.
You need somebody different to kind of challenge
We'd
you.
never speak.
Balance you. What?
We'd never speak.
Yeah, probably. It'd be like you would never have anybody to send back your mashed potatoes or tell them you ordered mashed potatoes at the restaurant, not fries. Anyway, that's a whole thing. I feel like we could work because apparently the actress who plays Kathy, Aiden's ex-wife, is like married to Burger in real life. I've been told.
Let's get it done, season 3.
Let's get it done. Because, unless they bring John Corbett back and, like, do a 5-year time jump, like, if you're going to have a season 3, like, you've got Charlotte and Harry as, like, the happy couple. You kind of need Carrie to be single. That's what makes the drama,
Sure.
And it's just like, I don't understand the rules of this 5 years thing. And then Carrie and Seema go off to Greece at the end because her boyfriend's off filming, which we all know Marvel movies have green screens behind it. I'm like, a real Marvel movie wouldn't straight up go to Egypt, would it? People were debating about that on Reddit. That's a whole other storyline. I'm not going to get into that. But they're off in Greece together, and all I want to know is, oh my gosh, I thought you were so into your cat's Shoe. Is Aunt Miranda babysitting Shoe? Did you take Shoe to the kennel? Where is Shoe? That's where my brain was. And then Carrie's like, and Seema's like, so 5 years? And Carrie's like, oh, well, I might get to go earlier for good behavior or something. And I'm like, what is going on with this 5 years? It was dumb. It was stupid.
Bad. It was bad writing.
I think it was a way they were trying to appease. When you try to appease different fan groups, you know what you do? You make everybody mad. And it was stupid. They should have just had Aiden break up with her and be like, hey, I've got to focus on my kids right now. I still love you. Maybe there'll be time for us in the future someday, but right now I got to figure my stuff out. I would have much preferred that than this dangly 5 years from now crap. I mean, Carrie's already seen what can happen in the blink of an eye with Big dying so unexpectedly. Like, you expect her to just sit around for 5 years?
I think sometimes as a writer, I say we because I write, try not to write ourselves into a corner. And they were trying desperately not to get written into a corner. And what I have found as I've been writing my current work is that actually sometimes writing yourself into corner is a good thing because then you got to get yourself out of that corner in a crazy and unexpected way. I kind of wish they had actually just had them be together at the end of the season, not knowing whether or not there was a season 3.
Yeah.
And I thought it would have been interesting. Let's just postulate that season 3 is the last season. So it's the last time we see Carrie. And like you said, these shows have always kind of hinged on her being single.
Yeah.
So let's have that last season be her dealing with that, that she's not single anymore.
Yeah.
And that could have been an interesting area to go because you still got all these other side characters.
Distance
yeah, and dating long distance
there.
And doing all that stuff. And you still got all these side characters that you can,
kids.
Miranda's single at the end of this season. You've got all these side characters that
Charlotte's
you can still
back to work.
Be playing with on these things. And so I think if you're going to be creative in that way, they should have taken that. Honestly, this was like, for me, this was the most cop-out of cop-out endings that you could have gotten for this season.
It was a way, a lot of people had storylines kind of tied up. Like Lisa and her husband, they unfortunately had a miscarriage, which is something a lot of couples
They had a very, very nice ending to the season, I thought.
Like, that was sad, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, they had been struggling all season as a couple, coming together, supporting each other's different projects, and sometimes tragedy does unfortunately bring you together.
I had no idea what their names were until you just said them, by the way.
I don't remember his name. I just know her name's Lisa.
Bald man.
And then the lawyer lady, like, she's going in to be some, like, lawyer in Columbia, something, I don't know.
She's a tenured Columbia
and she met the hot guy that she met at the bar. Turned out to be the chef for Carrie's, like, last supper party. I thought actually Miranda and Steve had very good closure. That's been something that's been a sour point for me since I hated the way they did Miranda and Steve dirty in Just Like That season 1. I love Miranda and Steve. They were probably one of my favorite couples from the original series. That being said, if they had started in Just Like That off being like, hey, we're co-parenting now, we're separated, it would have made sense to me because they were always very on and off and they were very different. And there are times where like I've been doing a recent rewatch of the original Sex and the City. I like to do a rewatch in the summer, and just watching it Just Like That has inspired me to do so. And I definitely see that it wasn't always all Miranda's fault. It wasn't always all Steve's fault. They would definitely, like, they're very, very different. So when they worked, it was great. When they didn't, like, it would have been understandable to me. It's the way it went down with the cheating. Like, Miranda's just her whole personality. And in season 1, and I feel like we've gotten some of the old Miranda back, but that still fits in this new phase of her life in season 2. Would you agree?
I agree, and because I think you said something while we were watching. In fact, I think you might have been watching the old show.
Yes.
When you said this, but like, it's never like her main thing has always been her job.
Yeah, like
it's never
her
really
career.
Yeah, and I think at the end of this,
seriously in her
you start
career.
seeing her getting more back into her
she
career.
gets to go on
and,
BBC.
Yeah, and then you start to see the Miranda we remember because the relation. You say it doesn't make you sound like a good person, but honestly, like the family stuff was never like her focus,
like her main thing. Like obviously she had Brady, she loved Brady. There was a point with, she did really love Steve, and I think that she and Steve had a really good scene there at the end where she's like, I want to be a part of your life, and he's basically like, we can never be together again. He's like, I've closed that door. And then she's like, so you ended up being wrong about us, huh? And he's like, no, I was right about us for a really long time. And I thought that was a very sweet moment between the two of them, that they did love each other for a very long time. But sometimes you just, no matter how hard you try, you can't work it out.
If you don't get any more of this show, or let's say next season, Steve really isn't on the show.
That was a satisfying
That's a satisfying ending to those two
did.
characters and their relationship.
And you see Brady in the background, the Ratatouille boy, as you call him now, I can't unsee it, where he's just smiling and like, he knows that his parents, while they're probably not going to get back together, they're at a point now where they're going to be friends in each other's lives. And I always thought Miranda and Steve made very good friends on the original series too. And I thought that was a good way to kind of like, and I liked it that Steve, because she was kind of like, I could be a part of your future, and he shut it down like anything romantic. He was like, yeah, I'm done with that. He's like, and I just thought it was really like interesting how she just said, maybe, so you were wrong about us. And he's like, no, I was right about us for a really long time. And she's like, yeah. And that was a really good closure to them. So everybody but Carrie and Aiden, I was pretty satisfied with. Like I wish the Samantha call had been with all the girls. Charlotte finally, for a while, Charlotte's just been the comedic relief. And I like that she's kind of finding her own again, working again. And I liked it that she basically told Harry off.
These boomers are never going to retire.
Yeah. But like at some point, she's like, Harry's like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And he had been doing the bare minimum, just like picking up the kids from school, making a couple meals a week. And she's like, yes, you can. And because it's been a while, like I just watched the episode where she quit her job in like season 4, and she's been a while since she worked. And sometimes, and I think her whole personality, and fans complained about this, are like, all Charlotte's personality is now just a mom. And I think that does happen to some women.
Sure, yeah.
But Carrie and Aiden, the 5 years thing, if they had just left it open ended and been like, we'll see what happens down the road, I think more fans would have been. But the whole 5 year, I'm like, how does this work? Can they not date? Like, I refuse to believe that Carrie's going to wait around in the city as a single woman, just waiting on country lurch Aiden to roll back in.
I'll be interested to see how they unfold this.
I wanted to punch Aiden in the face when he came into her apartment. I thought he sauntered in there, looked smug, and to like break up with her, even though he didn't really break up with her. The whole thing was weird. So
I'll be interested to see how they unfold it now that they know they have a season 3.
And who knows when it'll be that we get a season 3.
Who knows?
But I agree with you.
Maybe it'll be 5 years.
Let's bring back Mr. Post-it Note himself. Hey, if we come back in 5 years, then we don't have to do it. I'm down. Let's bring back Burger. So then we had another finale of a show that I would be remiss not to mention. You don't watch it. You just hear me screaming about it from other rooms. The Summer I Turned Pretty. I have read the books, The Summer I Turned Pretty, so I knew how book 2 was going to end. I know that she chooses Jeremiah, not Conrad. So I kind of knew. The show's gone a little bit differently, which this is the first time I can say that I actually like the show changes over the book. It's kind of modernized the books a little bit. It's some of the parts of the books were very cheesy, and the show's kind of made that better. They've made some characters from the books a lot better, so I approve of those changes, but they still kind of stuck. They still stuck to kind of the bones. So I knew how it was going to end, but seeing it on screen just took me out. Like, I felt so bad for Conrad because at the end of the day, I am a Bonrad shipper instead of Team Jellyfish.
I was about to ask, are you a conhead?
Conrad, not Connor. Conrad.
It works
Did
for
I say
Come on.
Connor?
No, you didn't.
Conrad.
You didn't.
Yes,
I'm
I
just
guess
making-
we could have con heads of The Summer I Turned Pretty.
I'm trying to have something to say about this show because I have really not.
Do you
watched
like
it.
what do you like better, Swedish Fish or Sour Patch Kids? Oh my gosh.
Sour Patch Kids.
Then you are on the right side of history because
Okay.
Conrad knows that Belly's favorite candy is Sour Patch Kids, and Jeremiah gets her Swedish Fish, and it's they even had Sour Patch Kids, like the actual brand, like tweeting about it, like how they're Conrad girlies and that it's the superior candy. So even they were getting in on it.
What is life these days in 2023?
Now, I will say Petty Conrad I enjoyed. So basically, Conrad in the episode before the finale, he caught Belly and Jeremiah making out while Belly was wearing Conrad's sweatshirt on Conrad's car. And Conrad was suddenly like Damon from the Vampire Diaries, like Petty Damon. And it was just excellent. I love the pettiness. And he's like, so which is the better kisser? I thought that was funny. See, love triangles, like the Vampire Diaries love triangle did not give me the ick so much because, one, vampires, fantasy, they looked older to me. And once Elena went from Stefan to Damon, she didn't really go back. Belly's already been like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it just gives me the ick more. So I was like, even though, and it was like I read the book, but like seeing it on screen made me almost want to vomit. They hit us with Taylor Swift Exile when she chooses Jeremiah and Conrad's like letting her go and all this stuff. And he was all sad boy in the hall of the motel. It was very sad. And then I did like that Steven and Taylor got together. They're kind of like the side couple. They do not get together in the books. Steven is Belly's brother. Taylor's her best friend. Taylor in the books is kind of awful, but she's like really fun in the show. I'm looking at you, like talking with my hands and everything. So that was fun that they got together. I like that. And then the show ended with Belly at volleyball camp. And I have to say, Belly's coach was acting like it was like the Navy or something. Like that Belly, like she's like, oh, you screwed up a game last season. We don't want you on the team. You can't come to camp. And at first I thought Belly was like lying to Taylor and like making it up, like because she just didn't want to go to camp because she was still depressed. And then it turns out, like, this coach is, like, psycho. I'm like, that's not even how I got paid to run cross country and track in college. And even my college coaches wouldn't behave like this woman. But then eventually the woman comes around and is like, fine, get dressed, Conklin, or whatever. And it ended the season with Jeremiah watching her play volleyball. And I'll have to say, too, if you are a Belly Jeremiah shipper, one, you're wrong. Number two, Belly, when she's, like, choosing Jeremiah, she's like, Conrad was a dream. I want reality. I'm like, you just called his brother a dream, and you're saying that to. So if I was like, so and so was a dream, Daniel, but now I want something real.
They're all in high school, right?
Yeah.
So chances.
Well, no, Conrad and Jeremiah are in college. Belly's getting ready for her senior year.
Okay, so I mean, the chances are that none of these relationships actually last long term.
Anyway, if I said to you, like, so and so was a dream, but now I want some real life fun with you, wouldn't that insult you?
I don't know what that means.
If I compared another man to a dream and then said, but now I'm ready for something real, let's make out, like, wouldn't you be offended? Like I just called somebody a dream and you're just real?
You know, you just asked if we could make out, so I'm probably just thinking about that.
And there's my answer to that, why Jeremiah was probably fine with it. Anyway, This Summer I Turned Pretty. I've already rewatched that last episode several times. We are getting a season 3. It's just unfortunately we probably won't get it next summer because of the strike. So hurry up, people. Pay these writers because us Bonrad girlies, we need to have our moment, guys. And Jeremiah might be a nice guy, but this is what I say and what I stand for when I'm like, for example, going back to Sex and the City.
If she had a lectern in front of her right now, she would be pounding her fist upon it.
I would. Big and Carrie fit better because Big was better for Carrie. And that's who she wanted ultimately. The same thing with Conrad and Belly. Sometimes the best person might not be the best person for you. So that's why, again, Sour Patch Kids, you're on the right side of history. We are.
I'm actually a Sour Jack man myself, but they don't make.
I'll allow it. Anyway, guys, I know we had quite the OC rewatch segment here. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Do you want to just mention some of the shows that we've been watching that we will promise that we'll recap next week? So what have we been getting into?
Star Wars Ahsoka started this week.
Excellent.
They gave us the
episodes.
2 first episodes.
Excellent. That's all
really
I'll say
excellent.
now.
Very excited about it. If you're a Star Wars Rebels fan in particular,
you guys
you're
are
really
getting well-fed.
You're really gonna dig this show. Well fed. Clone Wars fans, I still think have some stuff because Ahsoka is originally from Clone Wars.
I'm just waiting for Anakin to show up, whether in Force Ghost form or flashbacks.
And then another episode of Only Murders in the Building. Is this the 3rd episode?
I believe so.
Because we got the first 2 episemdes of that already. We have.
Was it the 3rd or the 4th episode?
I don't know.
I can't remember, guys. Again, we're tired. I had one note about Meryl Streep's character made a Grey's Anatomy joke on Only Murders. that I thought was funny. I think she made that in the 3rd episode.
Okay.
I think this was the 4th because Meryl's character wasn't in the most recent
Yeah,
episode.
you're right. So,
but we'll have more on those shows as we get into it because we know this episode's getting a little long. Let's see how many times I can say
Should I have a counter at the end afterwards? Because when I go back and edit this, actually I take some of them out if I can.
You say too sometimes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway.
Hey everybody, listen. We appreciate you listening, and if you have Instagram and want to hear more from us on a regular basis, follow us at We Watch TV Podcast, and we promise that we'll put fun posts in our stories. I just had to stop myself from saying in between right there.
Right?
Polls, other random crap. We are working on stickers. Stickers at the moment. I'm working on procuring stickers with our podcast art on it. So if you're interested in those, definitely follow us on Instagram because that is probably the place.
And we will not see you in 5 years.
We will dole them out. No, we will not see you in 5 years. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.